I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus I was evil. I never shook babies.
So real quick, I know we didn't really
Yeah.
agree to talk about this, but just want to touch on this real quick.
Touch
So
me.
Katherine, I will, dude. Katherine Maher, the latest CEO of NPR.
lady, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see like any clips of her getting grilled?
I did, and I listened to some of it on other podcasts today. She's I mean, like, lady, just well, first of all, what are we talking about? So she's being grilled by the House. I don't know what congressman he was. I kind of liked him though. I don't know who he was.
Yeah, was it Brandon Gill, I think, or something like that?
Yeah, is it Gills or Gillies or something like that?
Yeah.
But it was a tweet from like January 2020, which is crazy because that wasn't even like post George Floyd, but you know, you could tell just what the powder keg was for that. Where like she's talking about typical, just like white liberal lady bullshit, like reparations now, even Northerners, and like he's bringing that up. And you know, she works for a taxpayer-funded organization, even though they will say, which is a counter argument, like, well, it's not that much taxpayer. It's like, okay, then don't take any money. You won't have any issues. That's a side conversation. Yeah. But it's like, lady, just own it.
Yeah.
They just own what you said. It was a crazy time. Yeah. It was, you know, you clearly, like, you're a clearly very biased person. You can say that you don't believe that anymore. I mean, then that's up to us to decide if you're being truthful. But to say, like, I don't, like, that's not what that meant. And she was like, I didn't mean monetarily. It's like, and the congressman laughs at her. Is like, that's a bizarre thing to say.
Yeah. In that interaction, he was pretty funny. It almost felt like a sketch in a way. Cause he asked her, he goes, so did you tweet that you're in favor of reparations? And she goes, no, I did not tweet that at all. And then there's a pause. Then he goes,
obviously he has,
but he pauses and then he goes, yeah, you did. It's just like, of course,
it's almost,
did. Like,
dude, it's like, that's so. As an attorney, I can tell you that basically what people have to understand is that, so the House, I'll be quick with this, the House has subpoena power, so they can basically drag anyone in front of them for whatever reason, and if you defy it, you can go to prison. Look at Steve Bannon. That literally happened to Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
You can say it's selective enforcement, but fine. So. And what you also have to understand is that this isn't a court of law. So the people who are asking you questions, they're either going to be one of two things. They're going to be like extremely friendly softball questions to butter you up and to make you seem credible or whatever, or they're going to be extremely biased questions against you. And you have to understand that you are being, when they're the biased questions against, like, you are being cross-examined. Yep. If he says that, you know, don't you believe in reparations, you know that he's going to have the evidence to support that, or else he's not going to ask the question. Yeah. That's what lawyers do on cross-examination. And if you don't own it, your credibility gets tarnished. And like the rule for cross-examination, like cross-examination 101 as an attorney, is you never ask a question you don't already know the answer to. Right. So you never ask why, for instance, in a cross-examining someone. Infamously in that movie, John Travolta's the lawyer. I forget which one it is. It's Civil Action, I think. Like, he makes that mistake and it opens up the door, and you know the witness can prattle on about what, and he tries to stop him, and the judge's like, no, you know, Mr. So-and-so, you open the door. So like that's rule number one. So getting back to this, it's like, you know that he's going to have that tweet. Yeah. And maybe if you're being like, it's not like they pull up in a van and put a bag over your head and haul you in front of Congress. Like, you know that this is coming. Wouldn't you search your Twitter history and other social media for like the reasons that you know that you're being brought in for? Because NPR is incredibly biased. This goes all the way back a year ago to the Yuri Berliner article that we covered on this. I don't remember when it was, but it was 2024. Was it even 2023? I can't remember that.
It was last year. It was 2024. Yeah, it was April, I think, of last year.
So it's like, lady, you know you're being brought in front of Congress because you're extremely biased and you're the CEO or whatever the title is of NPR, which takes taxpayer funded money, which is supposed to then be not so biased. and like you should know that. And it feels like the same thing with these stupid presidents. Like these are the presidents of some of our most elite universities, and they can't answer basic cross-examination questions.
Yeah.
It's bizarre to me that these are the people who are in power of some of are some of our most influential institutions.
Yep.
And it just tarnishes their credibility to the point where it's like I don't laud that or really lament it. Like I don't want to see, like I want Harvard and I want NPR to be pillars of society,
Right.
but like not in, like I want them to be objective and actually like good institutions for the betterment of Americans,
Right.
not liberal mills for an ideology.
Right.
So yeah, it just astounds me every time how dumb these people really are.
Yeah. To be fair to her, though, she did say that her views have evolved, but I mean, it's such a low bar. It's like
She didn't say that in that. Sure, and that, which is fine, which is honestly the only answer that you have. The only passable answer is that, like, that I may have said that then. I was caught up in the time. Like, you can, just because it's not a good answer doesn't mean it's the worst answer. She gave the worst answer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which is what I never said that. Like,
yeah. And then also, like, just years and years of insanity. So when I wrote the article last year about Yuri Berliner, what's his face? Chris Rufo, I think, dug up a lot of those tweets. And there was one where it's like she had like these very like cute like Etsy protest signs for protesting some, I don't know, random shit. But then there was a sign that she tweeted out a picture of. It was a sign and it was like, this administration is crazy. But then she captioned it with, "I know crazy is an ableist term, however I think it still captures." But it's just But it was very nice. I got a lot of joy out of seeing her getting grilled up there.
I think what a lot of liberals are learning is that, like, people didn't forget what was going on, mainly around like 2020 to 2021, 22, maybe like some, like even before that, 2017 and on 2016 even. Like that stuff is all coming out. I mean, the best example of this was Kamala Harris.
Yep.
Like, lady, your ridiculous stances, most left-wing stances, because that's where the political climate was. Well, that's coming back to haunt you now in a national election where those views are pretty far left in California, let alone in America as a whole. So I think, like, I mean, that also comes back to the part where it's like, I kind of want to know the crazies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't we always say this about racists and things like that? Like, no, you should let KKK people, neo-Nazis have their speech, because then you know who they are.
Yep.
Like, so I kind of want to know who these loons are.
Yeah.
But I also, like, those people, like the far right racist people, they're not really in the positions of power like the left is. I mean, look at statistics about any university, tons of these institutions, corporations, like those people have real power than like a bunch of hicks in Arkansas. Or like rural Oregon neo-Nazi stuff. Like, they don't have any, but I'm not saying it's good, but they don't have the power that like the CEO of a company or the president of a university has, who shares, whose ridiculous views are not even tolerated, not just tolerated, but like lauded.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was very satisfying to.
It is satisfying, yes.
I'm curious if this will lead to them getting defunded. Or if the federal government cutting funding for NPR.
My view is this: if they're going to say, they kind of do the Israel thing when they're like, and this annoys me when pro-Israel people are like, well, yeah, and Israel only gets like 5% of its arms or defense from the U.S. It's like, okay, then how about this? Make it 0 and do whatever you want. Yeah. Like then I'm not contributing to any like killing children, and you can defend yourself as much as you want, and we can, like, the court of public opinion and pressure just from moral pressure can be applied to you, but now you do whatever you want with your weapons. Right. So like you can't have it both ways. You can't say like, oh well, the U.S. and Israel such allies, and we need your support, or we're the only democracy. We're the ones who like gay people in the region. They be themselves, yada yada yada, and then say like, oh well, really, it's only like 5%. Well, same thing with NPR. Like, okay, if it's, I think there's like 2% comes from federal funding.
Right.
Then make it 0 and be as left wing as you want, and then let the marketplace of ideas, and you will have the wine moms who will put their kids on your podcast. Like, well, you can have whatever crazy ideas you want, and then you will have a base audience, and you'll do your thing. But and then it's not even a conversation. Like the counter to that I've heard is like, but then a lot of the like usual, it's the big organization like NPR, corporate, whatever, versus like the small local ones. Like those are the ones who will really go under.
Right.
And my response to that would be, I know I argue between myself a lot. My response to that would be, well, then those smaller NPR satellites should put pressure on the big one to stop. Like just be fucking objective. Like we want to give education and interesting stories to people in rural Nebraska and Compton, Los Angeles, and like all over, you know, Alaska and wherever. So like stop, cut it out. Like just be normal. And so I mean, I kind of hope they get defunded too, just because put your money where your mouth is. You want to be an you want to be ideological, but don't take federal money. Yeah.
And 2%, I mean, I what, like 10 people are going to be, you know, are going to get laid off.
I don't know the exact number. I know that's what they always say. It's like, well, it's really not that much. Okay, then make it 0. You'll make that up in Soros money or in like suburban wine moms. Like they'll contribute whatever, like let them do it. To me, it's like such an easy fix.
Yeah, I agree with you, but that just happened.
Yeah, it's Schadenfreude. It's very nice. Yes, it's very enjoyable because it was the opposite for years. It was just like everyone for tweets that weren't even like stories that happened years ago being hauled in front of delegations or whatever throughout universities, in front of Congress, and it's nice to see it now being applied to the other side. I don't think that's a good cycle to be in.
Right.
I hope it. I mean, and now the right. We're not gonna. This is what's supposed to be a really political episode. But like, I think the right's gonna go too far. That's my prediction, and it's gonna keep going. And we're gonna keep going back and forth. And the whole government is gonna be run by executive actions based on a president overturning what the last president did, and it's gonna be single-term presidents probably over and over and over again until we die. And then we'll die, and I won't have to deal with this anymore.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that. So. This is I'm glad you brought this up because this is a pretty cool topic for us. So this is haunted paintings.
We're doing haunted paintings. I'm gonna share one and you're gonna share one.
Yep.
So I'll cut to the chase. My painting is called either The Rain Woman or The Woman of the Rain. Now that's because the painting's originally in Ukrainian. Or Russian. I translated a article, using Google Translate that said Russian. I'm not touching that subject about like what language it is, but the artist I know is from Ukraine. So I don't know if she's like Ukrainian Russian speaking or Ukrainian speaking or both. But this is a piece of art from 1996. So again, it's kind of funny because it's like a lot of people think like, oh, haunted painting. It's gonna be like some weird Victorian painting or something like that. It's like, no, it's from the 90s, like grunge era. It's like, I mean, it is Ukraine, so it's really like the 70s there, I guess, in the 90s, but still.
Independence Day came out in 1996, so it's not like...
This is post-Chernobyl, so maybe something's in the air. A decade after Chernobyl, right? And that's 86.
I think so.
But so the painting itself, now, doing like art on a podcast is kind of tough, because I'm not even going to share my screen if you're watching this on YouTube. So just Google. We'll have a link to it in the description. So to describe it, I actually really like this painting. I think it's very cool. It's very reminds me a lot of oh God, what's his name? Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, Tim Burton.
It's very Tim Burton-y kind of painting. So it's unsurprisingly a woman who is wearing all black, even around her face. She's very thin and she has like this elongated face. She has a long, a wide brimmed hat, which is pretty like flat on top. and the rain, and she's standing in the rain. It's more of a bust, so it's like her chest up, not very detailed. It's just sort of a blob on the bottom-ish, like shoulders, but really not a lot of definition, and then kind of a pencil neck up into an elongated face, and then the hat. And besides that, it's all just sort of light blue and gray and teal, which resembles the rain. I think it's a really pretty picture, actually. And that's it. That's all the painting is. I can't tell. Can you look at it? Her eyes open.
They look closed.
They to me they look closed, but I can't tell if they're like slightly open.
Right, like she's sleeping, or if there's like maybe there's just like some eyeliner like just on the bottom lid.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at
it's pretty cool. It is a little creepy. It's definitely
creepy.
Yeah,
but I think very pretty.
Yeah,
it's
definitely evocative.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it's like
you can really see the water coming off of her hat, which I really like, where it almost looks like the hat is made of a fur.
Yeah,
which is weird, which like you would never see. Like that's not. I guess there are fur hats, but you never see like this sort of style.
Right. If anything, when I first saw it, it actually looked like horns. It almost looked like some kind of weird goat lady thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
Especially the top, looks like kind of like fur.
It almost looks like her eyes are barely open, which makes it way creepier if they are.
Yeah,
like doesn't look like there's a pupil in one of them. I can't tell. And then her like long nose, kind of a long and then button nose, and her mouth is neutral, like like white lips, same color of her skin for the most part. But that's really it.
Yeah.
And so the story of this painting is that it's haunted in a certain way. So whoever buys the painting, it was first sold. So let me. I was looking at Okay, so let me bring it back up because I was looking at the painting itself. So, so the story goes. So the artist's name is Svetlana Telets, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Svetlana Telets. And it was 1996, and for 6 months, at least, so this is according to Far Out, The Rain Woman, the World's Most Haunting Painting, and this is only from 2023. So Poppy Burton is this person's, the writer's name. And for 6 months before she painted it, she felt paranoid, like eyes were watching her. And she started noticing flashes of light in the corner of her eye. She turned and looked and nothing would be there. But she felt something watching always, allegedly. So this article, by the way, is pretty skeptic, but this is the one I'm going off of. So one day, this artist felt something guide her hand. Far from being moved by the muse, she felt sure. Hey, the muse. She felt sure it was the thing that was watching her, imploring the tendons in her hand to flex and stiffen until she was left with a completed Rain Woman. So she says that the entire painting was made like she was the vessel to make this painting. It guided her hand, and she did it. I think, all in one sitting too.
Yeah, that's what it seems to imply. Yeah.
Yeah, it implies, and I think it was over maybe 5 or 6 hours, but I might be making that up. I listened to a YouTube video about this painting too. So again, it might be different sources, but then it took her 5 hours. Or another website to claim 6. And it's an oil painting. So like Telets was treating her like a puppeteer. She then went on to put it up for sale at a local art shop, where it was bought and promptly returned time and time again. As one website described in such a detailed fashion, suggests that either had more intimate details of the Rain Woman case than are currently online. Her modus operandi is as follows: once the subject has been brought into the target's home, targets will be subject to activity and experiences, including but not limited to sleeplessness, nightmares, general misfortune, conflict with others living within the home, and the feeling of constantly being watched. So I remember. So again, this, and I'll talk about the skeptical parts of this story, but I know some of the more specifics were, like hearing noises, banging on doors, and ones like noises that can't be explained in any other way. And it was bought multiple times and always returned. And then 2008, I read that I think a Russian artist or musician purchased it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you looked into this, but I don't know what has happened since then.
Right.
If that person still owns it or not. But yeah, the painting. So to me, the most interesting part of the haunting was that the woman then would start appearing in the possessor's dreams or nightmares, I suppose, like all the time, every night. But it wasn't like the woman would, I think, harm the person in their dream or, do anything necessarily scary outside of just being present. I can't remember exactly if it went beyond that, but she was just always a figure in the person's dreams and nightmares. And then it would be returned. And then some things I saw said that like it actually wouldn't even stop after like one person, a guy bought it. They were having issues in the house. He went away for something like work or something. And then the wife was so frightened by it that she removed it, but it didn't stop. So it wasn't like moving the painting out of the house stopped the hauntings.
Right.
I honestly don't know why, logically, wouldn't you think that you would destroy it?
Right.
If like, do you really? Because I don't think, one of the skeptical parts I heard about this was, well, it could be a ruse. Like, I don't know how you could confect this or it's some sort of ruse to like make money because it didn't sound like, well, I mean, I don't think that people are getting their money back, but I mean, that's quite the, like, that's like really playing a more officious role, I think, in this like you just hope that people are haunted by some painting to then return it and then not demanding their money back in some way. And they're so frightened that they just like, here, take that. Like, that doesn't seem logical to me. If you're so terrified of the painting, wouldn't you just destroy it?
Right.
Is there not that part in you that's like, well, I don't want anyone else to experience this? Maybe that's not really what's on someone's mind, but like, I don't know I don't think I couldn't imagine going into an art studio and being like, this painting is haunting me. Give me my money back.
Right.
Right.
Well, then again, yeah, but then if you destroy, then you don't get your money back. So
yeah, but I just don't think that's what's on people's minds who are being terrorized by some apparition in their dreams. Like,
so you said what during one of those cases, the weird hauntings did not stop even after they returned the painting.
Yeah, I do remember that. Now,
maybe that's just a coincidence. It's like a ghost moved in and the same time that the painting they bought the painting. So it's like, those are just separate incidents.
Yeah, I mean, these are like Eastern Europeans we're talking about. They can be pretty superstitious. That's a stereotype. I don't know. So here are my concerns with this. Looking into this situation, the vast majority, actually, this article is actually from 2007, but it looks like this story got picked up about 2 years ago, and that's everything that's about it.
Right.
Is like 2023, 2024, one thing 2021, but it's almost feels like when a creepypasta takes off.
Yeah.
Creepypasta, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like creepypasta takes off and it's just kind of on every single thing, like it's on TikTok, it's on YouTube.
Or like a Slender Man type of thing.
Yeah, Slender Man type of thing. I mean, we're doing the same thing right now, right? Like, it's interesting. People, it's not a bad thing. It's like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
This article, though, I did get translated here, is from 2007. So that's, okay, that kind of throws a wrench in that. And 1996 is like very rudimentary internet. Yeah. It's rudimentary internet for Silicon Valley, let alone Ukraine.
Right.
So
right.
maybe it took a while for the story to make it over here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like now that I have this, I really didn't realize this article was from 2007. There's some really, of course, I love this church commentary. So let me read. So the archpriest, Vitaly Goloskevich, candidate of the theological sciences, priest of the Transfiguration Cathedral, Vinnytsia, which is where the painting was made, Vinnytsia, Ukraine. So soulful art does not come from God, is the quote. A person has a spirit and a soul. They're truly spiritual works of art, and there are soulful ones. And the painting you are talking about represents precisely this kind of soulful art, and does not come from God. There is a such thing as aftertaste. I would advise listening to yourself, to your feelings that remain after contemplating the creation before buying a painting. The artist puts into the work the mood he was in at the time of its creation, and it is unknown who was guiding the artist at that moment. Therefore, if it was something unclean, then even consecrating the painting will not help. Pretty good.
Well,
Pretty fun when you get a priest involved over a painting and talking about like soul versus spirit. I mean, if he's right, that explains why it doesn't stop, why the consecrating it, I guess. I mean, I guess he didn't mean destroying it. He's talking about, like, I guess, blessing it or something, exorcising the demons from the painting. Because I think, I mean, don't quote me on this, but like we always associate exorcism with, a person, right? Like usually it's a young girl, but exorcise, because that's what's in the movies. But I'm pretty sure the church will exorcise like demons from anything.
right.
When you really get down to it, like I believe it's not just people; it could be items too. So I think that's what he means, like exorcising the soul or the spirit from the painting. I don't know. What concerns me is that because this has become so popular, why isn't there more about this person?
Right.
She doesn't have any other. Yeah, go ahead.
The last paragraph here, I think is interesting here. While it remains doubtful this painting was haunted or even real, it's a harmless exercise in embellishment that even the greatest of artworks weren't immune to. The fact that the Mona Lisa's eyes are said to follow you around a room only makes you more likely to visit it and see it for yourself. So, in a strange way, the growing trend of these ghost stories is encouraging people to be more curious about the real thing, a win for painters and paranormal fans everywhere. So, yeah, I'm wondering if like that the Rain Woman painting, probably isn't haunted. But an urban legend takes off, and then everyone starts perpetuating it, and it's almost like a Barbra Streisand effect. Like, oh, you don't want to buy that one; it's been returned 60 times now.
Yeah, it goes into listicles. I mean, that's how I found it. Like this, like the most haunted paintings. I'm like, all right, yeah, I've got to click on that.
Yeah.
Well, so first of all, the whole Mona Lisa eyes things. The funny thing about that is, you actually can't tell if the Mona Lisa's eyes are. I've seen the Mona Lisa twice. You can't tell if its eyes are following you because you can't see past all the Chinese tourists.
Right.
So that's actually like that kind of makes that null and void now. So you don't have to worry about that. So don't bother going to see it. To see if that can happen. Because one, the Mona Lisa is tiny, right?
Yeah.
Like it is very small. It's behind glass, understandably.
Right.
And then there's hordes of Chinese tourists that I've honestly think both times I've been to the Louvre, I'm pretty sure I just walked around it. Like I saw it. I was like, oh, there's a Mona Lisa, but I didn't like stand there and ponder it like I did other works there.
Right.
And a lot that are much, much more interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I want this to be true.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting and it doesn't affect me in any way.
Yeah.
And it gives us content for a podcast.
Yeah.
I do believe in hauntings and spirits and this sort of stuff. I think I've been open about that on the podcast, what I've seen. But I don't know. Like I so let me take that back. I don't want people to suffer because of this painting.
Right.
But if it's already happened, then I would like it to not be fake because that's annoying and it's a waste of time. And then someone, unless it was like some kid who, or someone like just did it for fun. I guess it's, harmless, but I mean, someone's profiting off of lying, which I don't really like that part of it. That's not fun.
Right. Well, Telets, there's almost no information about the artist. So
That's
it's sort
weird.
of like
That's weird. Now, this is gonna sound morbid. She's Ukrainian, and they're not doing great right now.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that. I hope she's alive and a real
Right.
person. It's horrible what's going on over there, but could have something to do with it.
Yeah. I think I brought up this movie before, Velvet Buzzsaw. It's a Netflix horror movie. Which plays with the idea. It's a garbage movie. I was very disappointed because I thought it had a great premise. And Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. John Malkovich.
Yeah. Oh, John Malkovich.
Rene Russo. Yeah, it's got a good cast. But they're squandered, unfortunately. And it's also made by the guy who did Nightcrawler, which also had Jake Gyllenhaal in it.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, and so that's why I was really looking forward to Velvet Buzzsaw. But yeah, in that one, the painter, he's like this crazy guy, but he's painting like these really dark, morbid paintings, and I think he kills himself or something. And then anyway, so there's this like she's like an art curator's assistant or something like that, but she's trying to get into like the LA art scene, right?
Sure.
So she steals these paintings and then she brings them to the gallery, and then she wants to get credit for it, but then anybody who buys one of these paintings dies or experiences some weird crazy shit. It's kind of a cool idea, and it does play with the idea of like an artist literally putting their soul into their work, which I think is fascinating, cool concept. But it's just, the movie tries to be scary. It also tries to be kind of satirical of like how superficial the art scene is in downtown LA is, which it is. And so I think it's just kind of
it's LA.
Yeah, it's mostly in LA, but the movie just kind of it's like those printers where it's also a scanner and it's also a copier. It's also it's just really bad at multiple things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
damn, this guy's only directed 3 movies. He actually is married to Rene Russo.
Oh, well, there you go.
Gilroy. Yeah, dude, Nightcrawler was his first movie that he directed. He's written a bunch.
Yeah.
But he's only directed Nightcrawler, Roman J. Israel Esquire, which I remember hearing about that. It's about a lawyer. Yeah, Denzel Washington, and then Velvet Buzzsaw. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And also the article you sent me is so it's called "The Rain Woman: The World's Most Haunted Painting," which I think is a little misleading because the other one that we're going to talk about, that one has a lot more lore behind that one.
Yeah, let's talk about that one, which was also on. That's the Hands Resist Him, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
that was also on the list.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I've known about that one for a while. So this is an article in the Telegraph. The bizarre story behind the world's most haunted painting. William Bill Stoneham was checking his emails in 2000 when he received one from somebody he didn't know. Do you know the hands resist him? It read. Stoneham, an artist in his 50s, replied saying that the phrase was the title of a poem written by his first wife and subsequently a painting he'd done in 1972. He responded back with a link to an eBay auction page, and this close-up image of my 5-year-old face, Stoneham explains over the phone from North California. It was creepy, very creepy to see that scrolling up on the computer. The email had been sent by Kim Smith, a gallery owner who lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who had recently bought Stoneham's painting in one of the first viral eBay auctions in internet history. The listing, posted in 2000, caught international attention thanks to its item description, which included the disclaimer, "This painting may or may not possess supernatural powers that could impact or change your life." Here begins the stories of what's said to be the most haunted painting in the world. So the painting is pretty creepy. So it's a boy and a girl, and they're both young children. But the boy, he's got like this very stern looking. It's almost like he's got like a middle-aged man's face.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a good picture of it.
Yeah, the
Telegraph. Okay.
Yeah. And then the girl that's standing next to him is like she's like a doll or something. She's got like black holes in her eyes.
Well, it is a doll.
Yeah. And then behind them, they're standing in front of a big window, and all these disembodied hands reaching for them. And there's like a partial moon showing. So yeah, it's a really kind of creepy, haunting painting.
Wait, where's the moon?
It's up above the kid's head. You'll see it
cut off on this.
Oh.
Okay.
And yeah, so anyway, so the painting. Sorry, I lost my place here.
Oh, there's the moon. Okay.
So the couple selling it did so anonymously. According to the listing, they had discovered Stonham's painting in an abandoned brewery and taken it home to hang in the bedroom of their 4-year-old daughter. At the time, we wondered a little why seemingly perfectly fine painting would be discarded like that, they wrote before adding, today we don't. Then things became worthy of a scare by numbers horror movie script. One morning, our 4.5-year-old daughter claimed that the children in the picture were fighting and coming into the room during the night. The husband was alarmed, so he set up a motion-triggered camera to see what really happened at night. What was perhaps most intriguing about the eBay sellers is that they both denied that anything otherworldly activity was going on and suggested that there could be something untoward about the Hans Resistum. To deter questions in this direction, there are no ghosts in this world, no supernatural powers, there was no odor left behind in the room, there are no voices or the smell of gunpowder, no footprints or strange fluids on the wall. So it's just a kid having nightmares, right? Okay, it's not that creepy, right? But what's interesting is that, the painting passed multiple hands over the years, and there are a lot of deaths associated with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading. I'm on the same article. I'm looking at this. So this was painted in the 70s.
Yeah, in the early 70s.
Okay,
yeah.
It's changed, but it really came into. Oh, right here. Wait a minute. The numbers seem underwhelming by today's standards. More recent eBay. Oh, never mind. I thought it was gonna say Kanye. I saw Kanye West. I'm like, did he buy that? It's like, no, a bag of hair taken from a Kanye concert sold for $65,000. Oh God. Okay,
so when he was in his 20s, when gallerist Charles Chuck Feingarten visited his studio, he rolled up his checkbook and bought all of the paintings I had. Among them was the Hans Resistum, which Stoneham had been inspired to paint by a poem his first wife, Roan, had written about him, and which he shared with the title. Stoneham was adopted at birth. He had never known his parents, and Roan was referring to this in her poem. Hold on, I want to skip to the part. Oh, yes. So this is actually funny. At the time, Stoneham says, nobody thought it was a particularly creepy painting. If anything, it was one of the less unsettling paintings he'd made. Feingarten didn't buy one painting, he said, called The Gathering. He said, I can't take it. It's just too dark. It's difficult to trace the painting online, but Stoneham's description sounds fairly grisly. It's a night scene with a lot of ghostly figures, with a horse crashing into a family. So you've got this vulnerable group and the strange power coming down, and the rider on the horse is partly skeletal, and there's a dark winged apparition above. Actually, you can find it, actually. It's called The Gathering by Bill Stoneham. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So this guy painted just unsettling. Oh, yeah. So this guy just painted unsettling like that. This was his thing.
I guess so. Yeah, I haven't. I've only seen. I've seen the sequels to Hans Resistum, which they're pretty cool, but they're a little more whimsical. They're a little more fantastical, not quite as creepy.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gathering.
Oh, and then the guy who bought The Gathering, who bought that painting, went mad, set his warehouse on fire, and ended up in a penitentiary.
Nice. So that seems like. So is that the haunted one?
You'd think so, and just looking at it, it's pretty dark.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Anyway, so continuing on here, and it's funny that this one painting he just didn't. It was just one of many paintings that he'd done, and he forgot about it for decades until early 2000s. Someone reaches out to him. But I'm looking for the part. Okay, but since 2000, the painting has become a more perennial feature of Stoneham's life. He regularly gets emails and messages and interview requests from journalists like me. How much can we beat this horse? He asked jovially. I can go on radio or television and make up stories. I said, what do you want? The truth? Stoneham cackles at the memory of convincing one boy that anyone who looks at the painting will die. Over the years, I've had some fun with this whole thing. But I'm looking for the part where he's talking about the deaths and the suicides. Okay, here. He hadn't thought much about the Hans Resistum, though, which was bought by John Marley, the character actor best known for playing Jack Waltz, the belligerent film mogul who wakes up to find the head of his prized horse in his bed during The Godfather. That's so funny that guy got it. At the time, Stoneham points out, Morley was working on a horror film. Since the eBay listing imbued The Hands Resistant with a new paranormal quality, people have been quick to point out the deaths that took place after it was exhibited in 1974. Henry Seldes, the Los Angeles Times art critic who covered Stoneham's show, died of an apparent suicide on the eve of his 53rd birthday in 1978, although friends said he'd been depressed since the beginnings of his divorce. Feingarten died 3 years later, and then 3 years after that, Marley died from an open heart surgery, having previously sold the painting. Nobody's really got to the bottom of how the Hands Resistant ended up in an abandoned brewery, at least of all Stoneham. It's what makes it so bizarre, he says, with the eBay listing. These paintings are owned by Weingarten. He sells them, and that's it. I don't live in Los Angeles, and I don't see what's what.
I find that I really like kind of like the whole art changing hands concept.
Yeah.
There's a really good short documentary on, I think, HBO. I think it's only like 45 minutes, but it's about the remember the Brillo box that Warhol would make? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So he did this whole thing where, Warhol did like everyday items. He went through like that phase, like Campbell's soup. So the Brillo box, like Brillo is a dish cleaner, I think. Some sort of like scrub thing. And he would make boxes that were, he'd like paint them, and he'd paint the Brillo on it. He made them yellow. And this family, they were art collectors. They weren't like top art collectors, but, like any good, I think they were very successful, but like any good collector, you get in early. Like that's what, and so they took it. They bought this. Not only did they buy one of the original, because I think like he first did them in yellow, but then in white, and there were much fewer yellow ones. Don't quote me on that part. But like the woman who's giving the narration for the documentary, she's like, here's a picture of me as like a 3-year-old crawling next to the box that our family was using to like hold up a coffee table or something. And so not only that, it was a particularly valuable one because it was one that Andy Warhol happened to sign the bottom of with a red crayon.
Oh, wow.
So it's like extremely, extremely valuable.
Yeah.
Where even when it's in the museum, like the guy puts on gloves and he holds it up and you can see the crayon. Like that's just something Andy Warhol did, like spur of the moment. Like, can you imagine? Like, there's nothing more valuable than that, basically. Right. Like getting some famous artist, like spur of the moment thing that is unmatched because he just happened to do it at that place and time. So, and then it was cool to see like, and then the documentary is more about like just art, like the concept of art collecting and the value of it. And it would have scenes from like Sotheby's and Christie's, right? Sotheby's, like whatever. I know Sotheby's, like the auction is Christie's not one of them. Like the auctioneer and like the different values of art and how she would say like, oh, our family, and that's what they would do. Like they would trade art. And like we'd had this, but then that was gone, and we bought this with that money. And I just find that so fascinating to like the kind of the line of like ownership or whatever you want to call it, that changed hands, like how this piece of art that we are talking about on a podcast in 2025 that was painted in 1972 is allegedly haunted, ended up in an abandoned brewery. Like that is so cool. Like I love the story so much of like someone finding some priceless piece of art at like a garage sale. A garage sale in Ohio or something. It's like, how did this Modigliani, and I mean, he's pretty recognizable, but like something that would be like, how did this authentic I guess like Michelangelo, and that's probably not real, what ended up at some garage sale in suburban Cleveland.
Somebody bought for $5.
It has like a coffee ring on it because someone was using it as a table or something like that. I love those stories.
Those stories crack me up, especially when they show up like on like Antique Roadshow or like Pawn Stars or whatever. So Hands Resistant, haunted paintings, you know what I mean?
It's cool. That was a fun topic.
And somebody's actually planning on making someone wrote a book that I think kind of blends like fact and fiction. I think he said like it involves like a detective.
For the hands that for this one.
For the Hands Resistant, and then somebody's making a documentary.
Great name for a title for a piece of art.
Yeah, definitely. And somebody's making a documentary about it too. And then the guy who's writing the novel based on it, he wants to turn it into he wants to shop it around to turn into a film.
I mean, That's where I start to like roll my eyes. It's like
Yeah.
at the same time, everything I just said is like, but let's also not beat this stuff to death. The movie is going to be predictable.
Yeah.
Right. Does that mean I'm not going to see it? I'll probably see it at some point. I'll probably stream it at some
Yeah.
point because we talked about it and whatever for the C word content. But like sometimes this stuff does get like look, a 45-minute documentary on how it changed hands, history behind it, some interviews with the artist. I'm all for that. I don't need a 7-part miniseries with a cliffhanger at the end about a piece of art.
Right.
Like I don't need that
shared cinematic universe with the Rain Woman or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, the Rain Woman is then calling on the Marvels or whatever the fuck their name is. There she is fighting Khan. I don't know. Whatever these people's names are. I know it's Star Trek. Whatever, same shit.
Fucking Darth Thanos and
Darth Thanos. I do like but yeah, I mean, for example, Star Wars. Like, I love Star Wars, as in the 9 movies. I'm actually a huge supporter of Rogue One. Like some stuff like that, I'm all for every few years. But then you have 7 streaming shows on Disney Plus. Yeah. Everyone's gay and indigenous, and it's like, which doesn't even make sense in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So I don't need that for the Rain Woman in the Hands That Resist Them. 45-minute short documentary. I'm all in.
Yeah. So yeah, if any of our listeners are aware of any other haunted paintings or other haunted works of art, even share that with us. Maybe there's some other stuff out there we can touch on.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a haunted piece of art. Have you?
No, not that I know of.
I will say this does remind me of like kind of tongue in cheek where, they gave the disclaimer or whatever, like this may cause whatever. Reminds me of like in New Orleans, you walk around the French Quarter and there will be like legit realtor signs for, properties. They'll be like, for rent, not haunted. like that is a thing. And that's kind of like, that's part of the allure of living in the French Quarter is, they say New Orleans is the most haunted city in America. I lived there. I never experienced anything. While I have experienced hauntings, never in New Orleans, which is ironic. But yeah, that's what, and there's a lot of tourism based off of that. There is a great, last thing I'll say about this. I know Supernatural, the podcast, did a really good episode about a haunted New Orleans in the French Quarter episode about like a guy, really grisly. So if you have a weak stomach, don't listen to it because it's really disturbing. It was like during Katrina. I'll leave it at that. A couple, and it gets pretty gnarly.
Awesome.
About an apartment there, which is cool. All right, end of the show segment. Recommendations or avoidances. Recommends or avoids. We're thinking of a more catchy name. Can't think of it right now, but you get the
Reckless
point.
Recommendations.
Yes,
Reckless
there
Rex.
it is. Reckless Rex. Perfect. Thank you. That's why I pay you the big bucks, Joe.
Exactly.
Do you have a reckless rec or something to avoid?
Yeah. So I was in the mood.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I was in the mood to watch a movie, and I wanted to watch something that was also, I thought, kind of relevant to what's going on.
All right.
Politics and the media and everything. So the movie that I picked, it's a movie that's been on my radar for a while, but I've only finally gotten around to it. So it is called Air Bud 2 or Air Bud Golden Receiver. Came out in 1990. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm serious. No, so a movie I actually did watch, and I'm curious if you've seen it, Ben. It's Good Night and Good Luck. Have you seen that one? Came out in 2005.
Good Night and Good Luck. Is that what Jason Statham?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's,
George Clooney.
No, I have not seen it, but is it like McCarthy?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but I know about it. Yes.
Yeah. So I watched it because because the movie's about politics and the media. So the movie's about Edward R. Murrow, who's a journalist and host of the CBS television program See It Now. So the movie takes place in the 1950s. And so it shows like a news it shows like CBS studios and like the behind the scenes of them basically setting out to take down McCarthy because he was really going nuts with the whole Red Scare thing. Yeah, it was a great movie. I liked it a lot. It's a pretty lean movie. It's just over 90 minutes long, I think. It's got a killer cast.
Yeah.
So David Strathairn,
Who I really like. He's one of those
Yeah.
actors who I'm like, he's not a household name, but whenever I see him in something, I want, like, I think I put this on my watch list because he's the lead, right?
Yep. And he got an Oscar nomination for it. He's terrific.
Yeah.
George
damn.
Clooney directed it and co-wrote it. And so the movie's got Patricia Clarkson, George Clooney, Robert Downey Jr., Frank Langella, Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
So it's got a pretty killer cast. The movie was nominated for 6 Oscars. It didn't win any, but it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Director.
What year was this?
2005.
2005.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, it is a terrific film. And also, I was also just curious because obviously 2005 was a different time politically and media wise. So I was curious of like, how would Hollywood treat this subject? Because it's this takes place in the 1950s. So it was pretty fascinating because I mean, especially with some of the things that we've talked about with that Mahmoud guy.
Khalil,
yeah, and so it's interesting seeing a movie exploring this case where a very conservative government was getting really afraid of a potential threat and was really starting to cracking down on civil liberties based on accusations alone and not with little to no evidence of connections to an enemy.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, we could probably do an episode on this.
Yeah.
I think McCarthy was right about a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah. No, definitely, for sure.
Like,
but there were definitely cases where it's like that person had little to no connections to commies.
So let me clarify. I mean, we won't go into a whole episode about this.
Yeah.
That being said, does that matter? Like, my opinion's always been this. If communism is so bad, like a bad idea, which I believe it is, it'll just fail. Like it has always failed.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to go send young Americans to go die in Vietnam. If Vietnam becomes communist, it will then become uncommunist, just like the rest of the world basically has, so as like Cuba, because it's a perverse ideology that doesn't work time and again. So like, yes, we're a lot of Hollywood actors, like they were communists.
Yeah.
Like, but does it matter? It's like more of where I'm coming from. So it's like, yeah, McCarthy's right, but then should have had that effect. Where I think when people are like, oh, McCarthyism, it's like, oh, well, he was wrong. It's like, no, I think he was actually right about a lot of that in terms of like, there are now, if it's infiltrating the government and they want to destroy that's different.
Right.
But if I remember correctly, it was a lot of like, isn't that what Hail Caesar's about? Did you see Hail Caesar also with George Clooney?
Yeah. The Coen brothers. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the Coen brothers. So it's like satirical in a way, but like they're all communists.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Because they were going to give money to like a Russian submarine out in the middle of the ocean or something.
That's not cool. Like that's where it's okay, but that's an enemy of the state.
Yeah.
But like if just a bunch of actors have a bad ideology, like so what?
Right. Exactly.
Like they're going to be unpopular. Then you would like I don't know. That's a conversation for a different episode.
Right.
But so I don't know because I haven't seen this movie. I don't know where it's coming from on that angle. Like if it's shutting down civil liberty, like that's wrong. Like, yes, that's where it's wrong. But if it's like, well, McCarthy's just saying that these people are communists, like, well, yeah, that's actually true.
Right. So I don't know how much of the film is fanciful and how much of it is actually true. But there was one interesting part in the film where the people who are working on Murrow's show, they're discussing whether they should, whether they should be tackling the story. And then so it's like 6 guys, and they're all in a boardroom, and then they all look at each other like, okay, does anybody here have any ties to communism or to communist groups? Tell us now before we run the story. And everyone's quiet, and then one guy just goes, "My ex-wife, this is before World War II, but she donated money to a thing, but that was that But that's it though. And then there's like, okay, but don't tell anybody about that. But this is sort of like the fear of like somebody who I was once married to years ago may have had ties to commies.
I mean, that's an Oppenheimer. Remember,
that's right.
He's sleeping with Florence Pugh's character, who's a communist. Like communism also used to be. It was like, I'm not going to defend it, but like there was a time like here's what I've said about like the Bolshevik Revolution. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like when you look at the wealth, disparities and the like, you look at like Cuba, for instance. Like, no, I don't want Cuba to be communist, but I get why those people would have done that to take over the Batista government. It's like, I get it. Now is totally different.
Yeah.
Like now is totally different. Like communism is not even taken seriously anymore. Like it's like the biggest advocates are like Columbia law students and like France is like all these European countries have like tiny communist parties. They're not like, there were like the Italy Red Brigade and Japan, like they have had communist violence, but that was like years ago. Now it's just kind of like regular leftism and progressivism. And it's not even like it's been neutered.
Yeah.
Because it lost. Like communism lost, rightfully so.
So the film definitely explores more of the side of people with only alleged ties to communism and having their civil liberties trampled on. So an event that happened earlier on in the film, and this is actually based on a true story. But again, I don't know exactly how much the film focuses on and how much the story leaves out. But there was an Air Force. I remember the Air Force named Milo Radulovich, who was tried and convicted and was kicked out of the Air Force because his sister and father were accused of being communist sympathizers. So his family members are sympathizers. So they're tackling that story, and then later on, that soldier ends up getting reinstated. So it was the movie definitely shows like, hey, look, we're like good journalists. We forced the government to do that, to take back that.
Well, it's also so funny. It's like we were allies with the communists in World War. So like you're giving money to the communists in World War II or like the Soviets, like before that'd be like helping our allies. Like the Soviets are the ones who invaded Berlin. Yeah, like we were on the same side as them. So like it's so funny how it switched on a dime where it's like. At one moment we're fighting with the Soviets to stop, basically the Nazis and smaller part Hitler, or smaller part the Italians. And then it's like, oh, now they're the biggest enemy in the world to us. Right. And if you remember in Patton, George C. Scott in Patton, he just wanted to go straight through Germany all the way to Russia. Just like, don't stop, basically just make it continuous war. Yeah. And so like, it's like, why was it so bad? Like, I don't know. What's funny is that it's funny that you bring this up because today on Twitter, I saw a post where it was, like a quote tweet where the original post was the Rosenbergs, like final kiss before they were both killed, right? I think death penalty.
I think so.
And it was a sympathetic tweet. And then someone, the person I follow quote tweeted, was like, they were traitors to our country. It's like, I think that's also one thing that we're kind of taught growing up is that the Rosenbergs were a product of McCarthyism, and it was like wrong, but like they were selling secrets to the right, like At least it's I think without a doubt the husband. I think the bigger question is how much the wife was involved, but again, I'll look into this more. But that's one of those things that it's like you're taught something growing up, and I think we grew up in similar areas. There's like definitely a liberal bent. Yeah. And you're taught like, this was wrong. Yeah. But it's like, no, they were traitors. They weren't just like communist sympathizers, one thing. Yeah. Like, no, they were traitors to our country. Like that I don't have any sympathy for them. They weren't just like reading Marx and, having a book club or whatever. Like, yeah. So I'll look into that more, but I'm pretty sure that it's proven that the Rosenbergs, were traitors. What's his name? I just watched the Donald Trump movie.
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, well, Sebastian Stan plays Trump. It's the other character who does it. Jeremy Strong plays. He's a lawyer who's like secretly gay. He rose to kind of a household name because he prosecuted the Rosenbergs. That was his big case.
Interesting.
He was virulently anti-communist.
Yeah.
Like extremely, extremely anti like left or whatever.
Yeah.
And then died of AIDS because he was gay.
No, nice.
Not because he was gay. That's how he got AIDS. And He wasn't just like, oh, I'm gay, so you get AIDS now. Like, no, it's what's going on. Anyway, so I'll be quick with mine. Are you done, by the way?
Yeah. So I highly
Right,
recommend
cool.
it. Check it out. It's interesting seeing like good, a return to like, oh, this is what good journalism looked like, because they were taking on the government at the time. So
Yeah,
check it out.
definitely. All right. So my recommendation, Reckless Wreck. I love that, by the way. That was good. Is an album, which is 1994's "Throwing Copper" by Live. Do you know this
No,
album?
I'm not familiar. No.
So, do you know the song "Lightning Crashes"? It's probably the most famous.
I'll probably recognize if I hear it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those songs you just kind of know, especially if you like any sort of rock, like as wide and pervasive as that can be. So, "Throwing Copper" is Live's third studio album, 1994, and they were like that. They were in that era of alt rock. It was like changing from the hair metal in the 80s, but it wasn't like grungy necessarily. It was definitely like deeper, philosophical. They were from, I watched a whole YouTube video about them recently for this. They're from like York, Pennsylvania, very blue collar town that got hollowed out from deindustrialization. And I always loved the song Lightning Crashes, and I always loved Throwing Copper, the album cover, because I just love that style of art, like that American Gothic style of art.
Yeah.
And that's a famous painting. I think it's called like some like the Harlots or something. Like you tell it's a religious guy, and he's trying to walk by these hoes who are trying to, he's trying to resist the hose here.
Yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, cover art. So yeah, exactly. The cover art is a painting by Scottish artist Peter House entitled "Sisters of Mercy." Christie's. I was right. So Chris, right here, it was sold for $186,000 by Christie's in New York. But it's a gothic-y style. I thought I was American Gothic, but like Gothic, and I always liked that style of art, and I always liked the song "Lightning Crashes." But my recommend is for the whole album, because I recently was working on my laptop, and sometimes I'll just, like, instead of doing my like playlist where I'll be like random songs that I know I like because they're on my playlist, I'll just listen to a whole album, and that's how I kind of find new music. And it's just sometimes nice, the concept of listening to an album, which has kind of been lost on our generation because of Apple Music, basically. But now Spotify and all of that, is you tend to just listen to random stuff that you like, where an album is like a novel in the sense that it like tells a story. It's what's going on in the bands. Oftentimes, sometimes it's just totally corporate and crap, but oftentimes it's they have a certain sound, and that's what people will say, like, oh, this band's second album is so different than its eighth album, and it's and I do that just to, it's kind of passive listening. And I always liked also the song "I Alone." My new favorite song from this album is where is it? "All Over You." I really liked "All Over You." And I just think it's a very good album, and it's something that like would creep up. It feels like "Lightning Crashes" is one of those songs that it has a very slow build up. Listen to it after the pilot series. Just like throw it on.
Yeah.
It has a very slow build up, and that is why it was so, the suits set in Power were so resistant to have it be a single, because it's not what people probably hear the beginning and be like, oh, in the car I need something faster, like this is too slow. But it would, like, the lead singer's voice is fantastic. What's his name again? Something Polish, I think.
Ed Cowell is a
exactly. Yes, that's it. Ed Kowalczyk or whatever. Polish, Ed Polish, and that song is just one of those songs that I would, like, for years is just like randomly pop in my head. Like, oh, I gotta listen to that song. And this time I was like, oh, let's throw in "Throwing Copper." Let me just listen to this whole album. It's very good. It's always nice to then kind of add some new songs onto your my just like ever growing playlist.
Yeah,
and that's my recommend, an album.
All right, I'm gonna listen to that. I because it doesn't really ring a bell, but I'm sure it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I've heard that song. Oh, I remember that. So
I think
check it out.
I think you'll recognize it once it gets into the hook.
Yeah.
If you're gonna listen to put on "Lightning Crashes," "I Alone," and "All Over You." If you don't like it after that, then you're just not going to like it. But I really love, those are my three favorite songs.
Another and one thing I want to add to this is because this is a rarity today. So there, the band is consists at least at the time consisted of 4 members, and there are only 4 writing credits. I like that. I like that a lot. When
Yeah.
bands used to write their own music, they didn't have a whole team.
Yeah, they're definitely like, I can send you the video I listened to where it's like it definitely knowing you, like
Mhm.
it feels like the kind of stuff you're into. Like they were really authentic. Like
Yeah.
they wrote about where they were from. Well, first, in fact, one of their criticisms early on was like they were too philosophical.
Mm.
Like one of their earlier albums was like too kind of like Buddhist and out there, and it was like a little too philosophical. Like so, this one was kind of a return to their roots album. One of their, I don't know if it was this album or another, where like they all just kind of went to Jamaica to like rented a house and then to like relax, but they ended up like just jamming and creating. I don't know if it's Throwing Copper or another album, but like I know you're into that stuff. They just like for some reason there was like we just took off and it was something that's supposed to be about relaxing. We had all this inspiration and we were together and we wrote this album, and like it's the opposite of the Taylor Swift with 19 writers writing Shake It Off. Like it's just like and I know you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I got it up here, so I'm gonna check that out because I got to work another shift tonight. So, all right, man.
All right.
Well, be sure to follow us on social media, on Twitter or X, Facebook, and then we have
Instagram.
all the links will be in the description below. So,
Yeah.
thank you. Good luck, and stay reckless. And good night. And
Fight the crits.